What's up, everybody? Welcome to From the Archive, the series in which I'm going to go through my personal stash, an archive of books, whether it's wargame related or not, and pick one and share it with you all, like talk about it, things of that nature. Over the years of being, a nerd and into this hobby and whatnot, I've amassed a collection of books, and for one reason or another, I tend to keep them, and whether or not I even really enjoy them, I just tend to keep them because I like physical, tangible books on stuff. And a lot of these books, pretty much all these books you're looking at here in one way or another, has helped shape my personal tastes, thoughts, and ideas when it comes to collecting miniatures in this wargaming hobby, maybe as direct inspiration or just something in the back of my mind. So I thought it would be cool as I unpack these things to share them with you. So what I'm going to do in each ramble, I'm going to pick one book kind of haphazardly, and I'm gonna go sit down at the table with you, and we're gonna look through it. I'm gonna give a basic thought synopsis on it, share my opinions on it, break it down a little bit, maybe look inside of it a little, and just talk about it, whether it's a novel, a codex, or a tabletop RPG book or whatever. So some of these books I have multiples of for some reason, not really sure why. Other books I do not, and it's just going to be some fun. I thought it'd be cool to kind of get some insight, perhaps, and share my thoughts on stuff that I have in my small little personal collection here, and for you all to share your thoughts as well on what I'm looking at when it comes to the book in question. What you have? Do you have the same book? What are your thoughts on it? And things like that. So this should be a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab one of these books, and I'll meet you at the table. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the table. So for this episode of Season 2 of From the Archive, we're looking at something 40k again. Remember, something's 40k, then it's not 40k, then it's something 40k again. So this is episode 3, so it's something 40k. It's a book. Imagine that. We're going back to the books. But this is a cool book. This is Xenology, or Xenology, however you want to pronounce it. This is a book that I believe started coming out in 2006. I don't know how long it stayed out for, but I'm pretty sure I got mine around 2007, maybe late 2006, somewhere around there. And that's this book right here. It is a cool book because it's a resource book. It's not a novel. It's not a codex. It doesn't read like a science book or a textbook or anything like that. It doesn't read like a novel or a codex, but there is a bit of a plot to it. And really it's just what I call setting building. It's one of those fluff books that are just meant to immerse you in the setting temporarily and give you a feel of what the setting is like non-standardly. And this does that with the Ordo Xenos of the Inquisition. And basically the premise behind this book is a inquisitor from a certain group in Ordo Xenos is investigating a research facility on the planet Beagle of a rival inquisitor from a different group who is deceased, and they're looking for information to discredit him publicly. Basically, you get a nice glimpse into the bickerings and the squabblings that goes on too frequently with the Inquisition. So with that said, this will probably go a little long-winded because I want to show you everything in this book. So what's interesting is when the Inquisitor arrives at Beagle to study it and destroy it, the Magos Biologus kind of dissector dude there convinces him to wait for its utter destruction until after all the specimens have been dissected so he can gain valuable information in combating the Xenos. And he agrees because it is valuable information for knowing how to destroy a foe. Nothing is more valuable against an enemy than knowledge for how to apply your tech and whatnot against them. So all cool stuff. So this book doesn't just write it normally and write it like a textbook or anything, but it does like dissection notes mixed in with this documentation discovery. So documentation discovery, dissection notes, and kind of like the personal writings of the Inquisitor upon his findings, and it pieces it all together very nicely. So here's an example layout. You get kind of, drawings of a facility or what have you. You get the notes by the Inquisitor and some pick capturings and the like, and it all ties together with extra notes found and images recorded and the facility to kind of be like you're reading a file. Like you've been given a file to understand the contents of. It's done that way. It's just, we don't. This isn't a separate page to get lost or anything because it's all published in this fictional book, right? So right away we are treated to a xenospecies we've never seen before, the Thyrus, squiddies as they are called in one of the pages later on. We haven't seen this before, so it's a little confusing to see what exactly is cut up, but we can see a ranged weapon. This is very classic dissection note style. So you have the dissected carcass here, and there's different letters around it and other points. And those letters are here for extra notes, like what it is and what the significance of it might be. And then it gets signed off at the bottom. So here's another Thyrus firing its weapon. I paid the capture, clearly. All of this stuff is really cool because then we get vocal recording transcripts and further notes on the subject and on the race as a whole. There is that propaganda notes for the squiddies. Give the squiddies no quarter. Obviously, it's pure propaganda. They're much more dangerous than being slow-moving, inefficient, and barely sentient. They are a bigger threat. Here's some additional notes found on the matter, all put together very nicely for us to read as if we are going over the documents of this investigation after the fact. Pretty cool stuff. I always like that immersive feel because it goes the extra step. It's not just presenting us information, documentary style, which is very cool. Like the Imperial Armor books did that very well. That was really cool. This is kind of like that, but then it's the extra step above that to make it feel like, yes, when you read something documentary style, it's like you're reading a documentary of the university you're part of. So that's cool. But this goes the extra step of not only are you reading it as some scholar, but you are actually a part of this investigation, going over the documentation. So that's pretty neat. And then the second creature they give us is one we know. So all the big ones that have a codex are present. This is before the Eldar, the Eldari, and stuff like that. This is before any of that nonsense. So keep that in mind. But this is a female Tau Ethereal. And what's kind of crazy is we're looking at the dissection notes and everything, but here's a transcript of a conversation held prior to killing it and dissecting it, as you do. And more pit capturings on wound markers and whatnot. How they came across as ethereal, I forget if they mentioned it specifically here, but it's just cool because it's not just, okay, Tau Ethereal from the battlefield. No, it's Tau Ethereal, perhaps from the battlefield, alive, being talked to, and then subsequently executed for dissection. Very brutal, grim, dark, like 40K is. And we have all the notes and everything to go along with it. Just giving us further delving into setting building, right? Because again, does this matter if you want to collect Tau, or does it help you play against Tau? No, not at all. But are you a fan of setting and want to learn more and be more immersed in it? That's what this is about. Here's an Exodite Eldar, and again, more setting building, telling us useless information, quite honestly and frankly, in terms of playing the game. But if you enjoyed the setting and want to learn more, this is a rare book to really learn scientifically. Here's some crumpled up notes and what have you, because 40K, you could describe it kind of as faith and fury, right? Because through faith and through fury, many different factions overcome things. This is very scientific, very clinical and deliberate. And we know what happens in 40K. We hear about Ordo-Xenos research facilities a lot in the Imperium. We know about the Tau and the Earthcasts and their scientific achievements, right? The Necrons, the most technologically advanced of them all. But that science clinical nature doesn't really come through in the codices or the campaigns and whatnot. And it's out the books like this to really showcase that, and they do. What I also like here is we get to see human DNA compared to Eldar DNA. Kind of crazy stuff right there. And just further, like I said, setting building. More information on the Eldar in general. And here's an Umbral blot. I like it because it's very different, very alien-like. Not the movie, just the term alien-like. And with that said, here we see it looks like they kind of can either get attached to or connected, somehow be and infect, if you will, ships. They can be quite bestial and scary in nature, as you see in this battle against some Umbra stuff by Ultramarines. So that's pretty cool. There's an Astroped, looks like it perhaps killed by an Umbra or something, relating to it. Some pretty interesting stuff right there. Here's an orc. Quite different looking than how orcs are typically drawn up nowadays, but there's an orc. And further dissection notes about it. Very atypical art design for it, but hey, it works. It's an orc. It's a living, sentient-ish fungus thing. You get to look at their cells, how things work, more information on the orcs. And it's not just on that one specimen or any of these one specimens, but also it gives you generic information overall for that race and sample stuff. So that's pretty cool. Here's the experimental bolt shell, probably designed for combating orcs. Here's a Kroot. This Kroot's got some battle damage on it, like it was probably gunned down, and that's how they got it. But more setting building, dissection notes. Here we see they completely cut the leg off to display out the muscles and the bone. Kind of gruesome, but it's all black and white ink drawing, so hopefully none of you are too cringing at it. More classified notes that are even partially blocked out, so that's pretty interesting. This involved a Calidus assassin, so it kind of ties the whole setting together by not just giving us information cut and dry about a particular species or faction, but it ties the whole setting in, all the different Imperium organizations, kind of notes that they have on the matter and the like. Here we get Kroot blood cells and everything. Human blood cell on the top, Kroot blood cell on the bottom. So it would appear that Kroot bleed green. At least they did at one point in the fluff. Here's a Kroot war sphere, an Imperial ship, and it goes on and on. So really cool informative stuff. Here's a second species we've never seen before, the Quori or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. The Quarrel. It's like Q''ORL or something like that. Insectoid-like. What I really like about seeing, well, this is the third technically because we have the Thyris, the umbral blot thing, and all this. What I like about these non-codex Xenos is that it really helps make the setting feel lived in, right? If we just take it at face value of what we have a codex for, it feels like those are the only alien species in the galaxy, and human stuff in the galaxy, and that's it. Obviously, we know that's false. Whatever beasts of burden and cattle-like creatures are there as a food source on a planet, the Imperium isn't going to ship in groks and stuff like that just for eating. So you're going to have Xenos that way. You're going to have floral species that are native to a planet, which are alien flowers and plants and whatnot. But as far as sentient, dangerous creatures to fight against go, there are more than just what we have codex information on. So it's nice to see that. And it's like proper world building, setting building for us. So it makes the galaxy feel more lived in, more hustle and bustle, more dangerous in the 40k setting. These are creatures that would be, if this was an MMO, you would see them, if the Codex creatures were playable characters, these would be NPCs that you would encounter to grind against, to level up or something in a certain area, potentially. Think of it that way. So, the Quarrel Swarm World, and looks like perhaps some type of writing from these creatures. Just really helps make the setting feel interesting. And here we can see, if the Tau Empire is over here-ish, here is Terra, and then let's look at where the Quarrel are. They're up here, so that's kind of a close threat. Kind of neat. Ah yes, Tyranids. They do several different Tyranid species in one overarching Tyranids report. Clearly battle damaged. Of course they're going to be in a book like this. Why wouldn't they? I like that they didn't just throw it at us at the very beginning. You had to build up towards it. So that's pretty cool. That's not just information on that, but of course Tyranids overall. We get to see their really kind of either unstable or chaotic, what we want to call it, DNA structure. Looks like it has human and Eldar DNA in there amongst other things, or things similar to it, which would make... Obviously DNA doesn't quite work that way, at least I don't, I say obvious, but DNA doesn't really quite work that way, and just being different things like that. Maybe it does for Tyranids. Remember, they are from beyond the galaxy, so who knows? Pretty cool. Here we see some hive ships causing damage. And more information about Tyranid, generational transitions, and just real scientific stuff on top of the Faith and Fury of 40k. Ultramarine reports, makes sense. And here is the Xeno species that I think would get a codex if GW wanted to introduce a new Xenos to the setting of 40k proper codex-wise, the Hrud. Hrud migrations are always described as being very dangerous. These guys, I think the only other ones that are kind of as dangerous would be like Slot, the Rangdan if they still exist. But the Hrud have always been nasty. There has been mentioning of these guys from Imperial Armor books, and even some codex mentionings, older codex mentionings of particular battles against these guys. If there were ever to be a new Xenos faction completely from the ground up, codex-wise, it would probably be the Hrud. And here we have information on that. And then this is the last real dissection report we get. Then it kind of devolves into different artifacts and gets kind of crazy as we start approaching mid-2000s out there information on in 40k and stuff. The metal lives, the metal lives, the metal lives, the metal lives. We know Xenos, we know what that means. Here's an artifact, and wouldn't you know it, there's General Grievous. Confirmed Star Wars and 40k, same setting. Now this is obviously a Necron depiction. I say obvious because there's a Necron art here. So basically at the end of this, the book kind of goes off the deep end a little bit, talking about how either Necrons set this whole thing up and use that Inquisitor for research, or just observation, or impersonating an Inquisitor, or something along that regard. So it gets kind of out there crazy. I don't remember exactly the way it goes, but it was definitely... was not expecting it when I was reading through the book, to be honest with you, to take that route, but very cool nonetheless. It gets the Necrons in here, so all Xenos that have a codex, overarching racial type, there's no Dark Eldar, but we had Eldar, right? That's what I mean, are covered. So, pretty cool stuff. Kind of final pick capturings and information from the facility, and because as bombardments happen and the like. And yeah. That is Xenology. Remember, to know thine enemy, you are known to him already. So that's the book. It's a cool book, obviously. I didn't stop page by page to read it for you. We'd be here for a very long time if I did that. We're here long enough already, but I wanted this to be a long-winded one because it's a special book amongst, I feel, the lore resource books of 40k. It's very thematic. It doesn't really break its caricature, if you will, at all. It's a lot of fun to read it. I've always liked paging through it. The dissection arts drawings are very classically done, like in terms of its style, and it works out very well. And it really gives this a lived-in universe feel for the 40k setting. Having said that, mid-2000s, 2006 or 7 or so, whatever. I know I got mine around 2007. I don't know how long the book was in production for. I don't know, it's at least 14 years old, around there. I don't know when it was stopped being produced or sold on the shelves easily. So my point is, good luck finding it just on a store shelf somewhere. If you get lucky, you might. It was $30 when it came out. It'll probably would be around a $50 book now, let's be real. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on this. There really is no use for this outside of just fun headcanon or just fluff knowledge and world building for you. If you enjoy stuff like that and want to have a collection of books, it's definitely a worthy addition if you can find it for the right price. Just don't go in over your head price wise for it. It's just not that necessary. But a fun book nonetheless, a cool book. Something that you don't really see too often is a really thematic resource book like this for 40k setting. The closest we've gotten were the Imperial Armor books and the Horus Heresy Forgeable books. Of course, novels are very setting driven and whatnot, but you read it as a novel. You're detached from it. Here, you were very much engaged as if you were part of the setting, going over the notes, and that's what I really like about it and why I wanted to share it with you all. So I think I've gushed on it enough. if you own this yourself, how do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Have you read through it recently? Share your thoughts. If you don't own it, and you just find it interesting, again, share that in the comment section as well. So thanks very much for tuning in and stopping by. And until the next one, take it easy.